ठीक.
Shall I start?
We will start at 12 p.m.
Okay.
So those guys who have joined, we will start in 1 minute. And in the meanwhile, you can also look over to our LinkedIn page where we have some anniversary giveaways like LinkedIn Premium and Abhishek Thakur's book and Ankit Rathi's book. So you may also go there and check. We will start at 12 p.m. Sorry, 12 p.m. now, like 1 minute to go. Soumya, you may start now, right? Because
Okay, sure.
like make it more audible, like if it's
Hello,
feasible.
everyone. Hope you all are doing well. Okay, sure. Hello, everyone. Hope you all are doing well. I'm Maheshwari, one of the co-organizers of Kaggle Days Meetup Delhi NCR. I welcome you all to yet another anniversary meetup. This is the third one of the series, and we're so excited to have you guys on board. You may look up our Kaggle Days Meetup Delhi NCR's LinkedIn page. We have announced a few anniversary giveaways there. So participate and let's see if you win anything. So, what is Kaggle Days Meetup Delhi NCR? It's a series of events in Delhi NCR that aim to gather Kagglers and people interested in data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence around the city. You may visit our website for all the updates. So, who are we? We are less of just one person interacting with everyone and more of interaction among everyone. We are India's first Kaggle Days meetup community and we are proud of it. But how old are we? Kaggle Days Delhi NCR was started on June 15, 2019, and it's been 371 days of awesomeness. But why Kaggle Days Meetup Delhi NCR? You get to meet Kaggle enthusiasts from your city, share knowledge with local data science communities, and each meetup has its difficulty level described so that you can find the one that suits you the best. And it's completely free. What are our goals? Learn how to start on Kaggle through practice. Network with other people. Meet Kaggle grandmasters, masters, and Kaggle competition winners. And have fun in the meetings and make new friends. Because networking is important, right? So, who all can attend? Anyone with an interest to explore AI, machine learning, data science, along with participation in some real world competitions over Kaggle can attend. There are no restrictions, and anyone who is interested can attend. What we all as a community achieved. Now, if I'm to talk about numbers, we are 1650 members strong on our Telegram group. We have a whooping impressions of 1,20,000 plus in 28 days on our Twitter handle. We have 4,800 plus subscribers for our monthly newsletter. We conducted 13 events in 12 months. We supported 6 plus hackathons, 2 tech conferences, 1 Google Dev Fest, and 1 Google Explore ML session. Who made it possible? You. It's our lovely attendees, our supporters, our speakers who have made this possible. Now, the agenda for today's meetup will be an Ask Me Anything session with Mayank Kumar and Siddharth Yadav. So get your questions ready to ask them. You may watch our Kaggle Days Meetup Daily NCR's LinkedIn page to know more about the anniversary giveaways and participate. These are some of the pictures from our previous physical meetups, which are not quite possible as of now. So it was our first Kaggle Days meetup at Crawford's Gurgaon, a second meetup at Tokopedia, Noida, a third meetup at Atlan, Delhi, our fourth meetup, our fifth meetup at Innovator, Noida, our sixth meetup at Gartner, Gurgaon, our seventh meetup at Tokopedia, Noida again. Ever since the lockdown has hit us, we have managed to conduct 5 virtual meetups and 1 virtual catch up. And we are extremely thankful to our helping hands. Now, for our upcoming meetup, it will be held on June 27th, and we'll be having Ankit Rathi and Abhishek Thakur as speakers. So, set your reminder on our YouTube channel to not miss it. Our next data catch-up session will be on June 28th, 2020, and we'll be having Saurav Mehti, who's a data scientist at Microsoft, and he'll be giving an introduction to graph neural networks. Now, to just give a brief about data catch-up, it's a beginner-friendly series that we have started to kickstart your data science career and to get you insights on some of the topics. So set your reminders on our YouTube channel to not miss this one as well. And we are extremely thankful to you guys and our organizing team. There's Mohini, there's Tanisha, there's Arshita, there's Harsh, there's Vishal, there's Arshpreet, Prajit, Ishan, Bhartendu, there's me, there's Somadi, there's Ritesh, Antaripa, and Neeraj. Now, to join us as a volunteer, you can fill up the form, and the link will be available in the live chat as well. Now, guys, please stay safe and try and stay at home if it's possible. Thank you. If you have any sort of queries, our team will be available on the live chat. And I request everyone to turn off their mics and video streams for the smooth conduct of this meetup.
Yeah, thank you so
Now,
much
again,
for.
we know. Oh,
Mhm.
okay,
So we
okay,
can
sure.
we can just take the feedback at the end. So thank you so much, Soumya, for your for your in help to help us conduct this meetup smoothly. Now, I would request Siddharth Bhaiya and Mayank Bhaiya to just introduce themselves one by one, right? So that the public, so that the attendees at least know, we have the speakers and a brief introduction about the speakers. We will start from Mayank Bhaiya first, then a short introduction by Siddharth Bhaiya, then we will just go to the questions that we have file we have got through the Google form. We will just discuss them, and if time allows, we will take up the questions from here too. I hope that the questions that we have picked would be covering a lot of your questions, so do have patience and see if your questions are not answered. Do write them in the YouTube chat, live chat. We will definitely answer them. So Mayank Bhaiya, it's all now.
Thanks, Aaron. So, hi everyone, I'm Mayank and I'm currently working as a data scientist at Season Technologies. So, I have around 2 years of experience working in the industry, and I'm also from a competitive background as well. So, I'm currently Kaggle competitions expert, and before that, I also I was kind of more involved in competitive coding as well. So yeah, so I think I'm really excited to get your queries resolved, and I think it will be an interesting session. So thank you everyone for this uh, this organizing thing, and yeah, I think we'll enjoy it together. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Mayank Bhaiya. Siddharth Bhaiya, now you can just give a short intro about you.
Hi everyone, my name is Siddharth Yadav, and I have been studying data science since the second year of college. I'm about to graduate next month, I guess. And right now, I'm working as an author at O'Reilly, where I write about data science related topics. Uh, I'm also Kaggle Kernels master, and nowadays they have started calling it notebooks master. So I have been a notebooks master for over 1 year now, and I can't wait to share my knowledge with you guys. I'm always ready to share my knowledge. And thanks a lot to uh, Kaggle Days Delhi NCR for organizing this wonderful event. I think we should start now.
Yeah, thank you. So I have shared my screen. So what I can do is I will read the questions, and then we have written the name of the the speaker who would answer it, right? In the serial way. We have this, we have the names of the speaker who would be answering it, first Mayank Bhaiya, Siddharth Bhaiya, or we have the names accordingly written, right? So the first question is, what kind of personal projects can help in landing to a good research internship at good universities? So Mayank Bhaiya and Siddharth Bhaiya.
Yeah, sure. So for the research-centric internship opportunities, I would basically suggest to kind of maintain a 60-40 balance between your theoretical understanding as well as practical standing. So I would suggest to so for the personal projects, I think um some of the tips that I would suggest you to kind of frame a problem by yourself. Like if you have some nice idea about some problem, then try to frame it by yourself, because that really gives a kind of person who is in academia. So it gives a kind of good understanding about your thought process and about your understanding as well, like how were you able to frame a problem. And let's say you don't have any idea, so then there is a site like Kaggle in your rescue. You can use it to select a particular set of problem. Then there will be the data collection process. So like I said, like if you were able to create or frame a problem by yourself, then the most important thing that researchers or that interviewer put more weight is like how you were able to collect a data sample for your problem, because data is something that you will not get easily. You will always have to look for the alternatives, like how can you collect it, how can you make it work, what sort of data you can collect, and how to eliminate noise in your data, so that your ML algorithm will kind of able to find patterns in it. So something like that. And uh, and uh, and other thing that I want to suggest would be like try to kind of uh, have a good understanding about your data once you have collected your data. So the all thing like is the everyone will be focusing will be like how you have kind of good understanding, whether you have a good understanding of your data or not. And kind of a storytelling. So what did you find, and what you think about your data? Like, is there any kind of uh, inadequacies in your data or something like that? And then you can jump to the approaches kind of things, like this should be the right approach, and why you think that should be the right approach. So these are the things that should be involved in your personal projects. So there, I would not like typically focus on a particular set of problem, because there are a lot of problems already there. You can find it over Kaggle or some other sites as well. So yeah, so the main thing of focus will be to kind of better understand your data, better understand your model, and the problem understanding would be also be kind of given more weightage. So yeah, that's it, I think.
Okay,
Yes.
I would like to uh, add some things to what Mayank said. So, so in my experience, when you want to land a good research internship at good universities, so if you want to go into research, it is expected from you that you know how to read research papers. You need and you also know how to implement them. So if you have projects in which you are able to implement uh, some popular papers from scratch, and you put it on GitHub, that would be great. And from my personal experience, I can say that good personal projects go a long way. So like my best notebook on Kaggle is the reason why I got an internship in Fidelity. It's also the reason why I work as an author now at O'Reilly. So
So
I
you.
would say that choose a topic. So like whatever you're interested in. So like if you are into NLP or computer vision, uh, uh, go read some good papers. Try to read at least 5 papers a week, not much. Try to implement 2 papers a month. I think that would be more than enough. And after 3 4 months, I think you will be able to have a good GitHub profile at least uh, to present for possible internships.
Yeah. So that's a quite like summarized answer. Like I hope that answers most of the queries too in that concern. So the next question is like how important is programming languages when it comes to interview perspective?
Okay, so I think any language can be equally good because most of the time any hiring person is not interested in particular language, but kind of more interested in the quality of code that you can write. Some of the things I would like to share is like you can share some of the cleanest code that you ever wrote through maybe sharing it over a GitHub or somewhere else, because that gives someone an idea about like what kind of code you can implement it, and I would say to focus on the redundancy and applying the oops concept properly, because that also kind of gives a good intuition about how are your thought process, how you are implementing something. Because see, it's not kind of limited to any language, right? You can use the concepts between various languages, and also do comment your code in a kind of short and concise way so that it should be understandable, and you can use like a neat documentation or kind of readme if you are sharing it over a GitHub, so that it's going to help someone to understand your work. That should be it, I think. So yeah, other things you can learn like some implementation patterns, like some software engineering concepts as well, and try to use it in your coding stuffs as well. That can give you an additional advantage to your work. So yeah, that's it, I think.
Okay, so regarding this question, I would say that uh, in my experience, what I've seen in interviews is that they ask you more questions about the concepts and a lot about stats. So, which is something that a lot of people don't cover while they're studying data science. That's not something many courses focus on. So instead, and programming languages come secondary because you can have one project in which you are using R. In another in another project you are using PyTorch with Python, obviously, and then you can have another project with Java. So like it comes secondary, but it's better if you know more languages. It's better if you have more languages in your CV.
Yeah. So we have like next question for Siddharth only, like how important is competitive programming, maybe like how important is competitive programming for getting a job in data science?
Okay, so from what I have seen, I can say that because I can say this in respect to India, it is expected that you are quite good in data structure and algorithms. So you can expect this to be a part of a part of your interview or like the whole hiring process in some major companies, but I would say that this should be kind of secondary. You should be more focused on stats and uh, and and concepts of ML and deep learning. You should know about your popular models. So like you should know about XGBoost. You should know how gradient boosting works, how SVMs work. Those are more common questions in interviews.
Yeah.
But if your interview is consists only of competitive programming and stuff like that, maybe you are not at the right place if you are really passionate about data science.
So like I hope that answers the question well. So we have next question is, should I prepare data structure and algorithms for interviews, or should I focus on statistics if I am already working as a data scientist?
Okay, so I would say to both of them, because it would be far better if you are really good at kind of writing some highly optimized code. If let's say if you are able to create an algorithm and like doing necessary optimizations to make it more scalable, then of course it will give you more edge. If you are already working as a data scientist in an industry, then of course it will give you more edge to your colleagues. If you are a fresher, then it can give you more edge to other candidates, I think, because there are always room for improvements. You can make your code more and more optimized, because with my experience, I remember when I was working on some information retrieval task, then I think for the initial implementation, my solution was kind of big O of n squared log n. So that was kind of not scalable when I ran it over some millions of data sets. So what I did was I reduced it by order of n, and yeah, all things started working. So I think, yeah, you should have a good knowledge of data structures and algorithms as well, and that will save you more time. And I think, yeah, it will also be help you to kind of write a production grade system as well. So yeah.
I agree with Mayank here, and uh, yeah, and like I said in the previous question, also you should focus on stats, and yes, data structure and algorithms are also important. I would like to add that the difference between the job of a data scientist and an ML engineer or like AI engineer uh, is uh, is diminishing every day. So like uh, 1 or 2 years in the future, uh, every hire for every hiring for data scientists would require all the things, or like many of the things that software developers do in the job description. So you are not only a data scientist, but you also need to know many tasks that software developers do. So uh, it has started happening, but in like 1 or 2 years, this is going to be the case.
Yeah. So like I hope that answers the question too. So the next is like, can you suggest some good resources or Kaggle notebooks for feature engineering?
Okay, so about this, my personal favorite is LANL, Earthquake Prediction Competition. So if you want to, so this was a very good competition about earthquake prediction. I got stuck in some work, but I think I would have performed well in this competition. I won't say I would get a medal or something, but uh, I would say that this competition has taught me a lot about feature engineering. Uh, 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 More prominently about the aggregation based features, and also like any Kaggle competition in which you have tabular data or like cross sectional data. uh, you can go to the solutions, or like I have read some discussions in which people have tried over 100 or something features, like 400 features for competitions, and they usually include those in their submission. So like whenever a competition ends, you should go through all the major submissions, all the like top 20, 30 submissions. You should go through at least 10, 15, 10, 15 of them.
Yeah, so I have also shared that link, like LANL earthquake prediction, right? So I have shared that link too in the
Yeah.
comments, so they can refer to there. So like Mayank, yeah, you have told that you worked on information retrieval, right? So like any good resource for learning information retrieval, like any guiding point that you would love to share?
Yeah, so well, based on my personal experience, I think Introduction to Information Retrieval. So I think it was written by Chris Manning. So it's really a great book, because I had also learned lots and lots of things from there, and there has a lot of different algorithms already mentioned, and you can like have a great knowledge about those algorithms as well. That will help you a lot to gain some quick understanding of like what could be the possibilities, how indexing and those things works, and kind of when to use what, and pros and cons and all those sort of things. And for the better understanding, I would suggest to even work on creating an IR system. You can use that. You can use it as a your project as well for the showcasing purpose. Because see, you can create an IR system, let's say for images or maybe text or documents or even audios. I think you can also create an IR system as well, and I think that would also be a good project idea for you. And yeah, so I think this book is really nice. You can start with it. And I would also suggest to read some papers as well. There are some good papers from the Yahoo search, like how that search works and how is the indexing being performed when you have to deal with kind of even lots of like multiple millions in terms of multiple millions of documents. So yeah, that was a really nice paper. So do explore the papers as well. So yeah, I think that would be a good starting point for this. I, yeah.
So I have shared that book link to like Christopher D. Manning, right? So that we were telling about. So I have shared that book's link over the chat, like live chat, so they may look over there. So the next question is like how to prepare for data science interviews. Maybe they want to listen, right? You have faced some data science interviews. So how do you think like what should be the preparation strategy for data science interviews?
Okay, so I think yeah, we can better understand it through an example. So I will little bit share my experience as well. So so see, nowadays like everything will start from a problem statement. You will be given a problem statement and you will have to kind of come up with some working solution for that problem. So initially, like after submitting a solution for that problem, now that problem, of course, can be even in an online way or in an offline way. So that depends. Like you can see most of the hiring competitions maybe on Hacker Earth or sometimes even on Kaggle, I think as well. So yeah, so the basic aim is to kind of understand your thought process in terms of EDAs, like how good you are in exploring the data and what sort of pre-processing steps you have included in your pipelines and why you did that, and then and the modeling techniques that you are using, uh, and what is a kind of selection criteria when you are picking up some algorithm, like how you came up with that sort of algorithm, and like what kind of validation strategy you are using. So whether you are taking the class imbalance or those kind of things into consideration or not, and how you are kind of dealing with those problems. And one of the important part that I should mention is that in most of the data science interviews, I found that the error analysis is a really critical part. Interviewer will kind of more concerned with like how did you analyze your errors, how did you make the improvement thing. So what did you analyze, how you got to some point, like oh, this was the thing, that's why my model was not working. So these are the things that initially you will have to deal with. And then the next phase of interview, it was a kind of highly technical interview. So there was the discussions about different sorts of algorithms, and then why you picked those things, and what worked and what didn't work. So yeah, do mentions what were the things that haven't worked for you, and why was it so. And yeah, so these are the things that should be the part of the first interview stage, I think. And now let's say those things have worked for you and you got a kind of green signal from the first interview. So after the next interview, I think it's generally with the hiring managers who are kind of principal data scientists or practice heads. And this is a kind of little challenging phase in the entire interview process, I can say, because here you will be asked some kind of business cases, business scenarios. You can expect the questions related to statistics, both at a basic and some advanced level as well. And then about the core ML things, like how different algorithms work, like what is boosting, what is bagging, how do they work, when they do not work, the advantages or disadvantages, so things like that. And yeah, one of the interesting question was related to kind of guesstimate problems. Like one example could be, guess how many number of flights take off in a day, let's say from a Delhi. So that's something called as guesstimate problems. You can expect it sometime in an interview as well from the hiring manager. So the idea is not to jump to a kind of exact solution. The idea is to evaluate which direction you are going with your approach. So yeah, so that was the part. And other things where I think some case scenarios where you will be given some business cases, and like let's say there will be questions like, hey, let's say I have a requirement from one of my client, and they are a kind of telecom company, and how can you solve the customer retention problem? So that's that sort of question you can expect, and you will have to kind of come up with some analytical thinking and analytical solutions. I would use this, I would first do this, first do, then we'll do this. So these are the things that you will have to propose, and on the basis of all these things, you will have to kind of if you will able to like excel in all those things, then you will get easily shortlisted. So that is basically a kind of fitment kind of call, whether you are great fit for the organization or not. So these are the I think the inner processes that's being done as a part of interview. So yeah, so the main thing I would say would be to focus on the problem understanding and your formulation to the solution, and yeah, build a good understanding of algorithms, then problem statements, then yeah, error analysis that I had mentioned earlier, and yeah, read blogs, case studies, and whatever you could do to kind of build a good understanding of all those things. So yeah, so that was, I think, that summarized the entire thing. So yeah.
So Siddharth bhai, anything to add? Like you want to share your experience, like how you cracked into interviews, or like how was your experience with data science interviews?
I think he has covered most of it, but I would like to add just 1 2 points. So, so I think, guys, on multiple occasions I've done this. So, like, I basically go to my interviews with my laptop. So, and during some time, sometime during the beginning, sometime during the end, they ask me, why have you brought your laptop, or do you have a project to show me? So, and I explain my projects to and I try to explain my projects. So what happens is that I think they may have a limited time uh, to evaluate me. So if I am explaining my project, so obviously I have given it a lot of time and I know a lot about it. So uh, it's more likely for me to get things right in that way, and also and I think that helps because if I have made a project, I have spent 1 or 2 months on it, I would be confident about it in the interview, and my and people do like confidence. Secondly, I would like to say that people, I think, uh, I won't say that it's absolutely necessary, but try to implement popular data science algorithms from scratch. I'm not saying that it is required and everyone would expect you to do that, but when you will do that, uh, you will get understanding at a deeper level, because that's not something what most courses teach. They just show you how an algorithm works or what's the principle behind it. Yeah, that's what I had to add.
So like that I hope that summarizes the like interview, like how a data science interview looks like or how you can approach one. So I hope that that helps a bit. And like next question is like, any tips for computer vision techniques, like how you approach computer vision techniques, or like what things you definitely look into while approaching a computer vision problem? So Mayank,
So
wait.
yeah, so for computer vision, I would say like make your strength not only in a kind of machine learning based algorithms, but with some core image processing things as well. Because in industry, what I often see is like there are a lot of problems. There are a couple of scenarios where the CV solution starts with some basic core image processing things, and like these are the things that people generally don't focus while solving some problem, right? Because mostly you will see a kind of predictive analysis and image classification and those kind of things, right? But mostly in the
And
industrial,
like these are the things that people generally don't focus while.
yeah. Correct. So even sometimes, and what I mostly see often is like most of the CV solutions starts with some core image processing things, and even sometimes ends at only this image processing part. Some tasks do not require ML at all. So you don't just have to kind of anyhow uh, put the ML things there. It can be solved even with some core image processing things as well. So uh, I think include this image processing thing into your skill set as well. That's going to help you a lot, because that's how I mostly see the problems are related to, and also I think balance yourself with both traditional rule based image processing ops as well as kind of understanding the SOTA, like that is state of the art algorithms as well. So you will have to maintain a balance between the traditional rule based things, because most of the times what I see is like you can solve most of the things with just rule based system. And sometimes, yeah, we need the state of the art algorithms as well. But the most difficult thing that I found while implementing the state of the art thing is that it's kind of hard to scale, and you will most of the time you will require most of the resources as well. So that becomes a key problem, I think. So you will have to focus on the scalability part as well, because that's going to matter a lot when you will working in an industry, because you will often be limited to resources, and you still have to make it work. So in that case you will have to focus on the scalability part as well. So yeah, so try to focus on these things, make you adaptable and make yourself good in terms of image processing concepts, and then scalability part. So that would be really helpful for the computer vision things. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, thanks. So the next question is like a person asks, like he has or she has done various online courses and they have also done projects within that course, right? Maybe that course contains some projects to do, but they are still facing difficulties to start with Kaggle. Like, can you suggest what things can they do now? Like, they have done courses, they have done the projects which are involved in that courses. Now they are finding difficulty to start with Kaggle. So, any suggestion?
Okay, I
So
would like to start
yeah,
first with this. I would say that I would share my experience. When I first started, I was also facing this problem. So, so what you should do is like a very simple thing that you should do is uh, start reading notebooks that others have posted on the same data set or the same competition. Go through like 9, 10 notebooks and try to do what they have done. Like try to execute the things that they have done. Uh, Try changing some things, and over time you will be able to create your own notebooks, and then after some time those notebooks will also look very neatly tidy. I think this is achieved over a period of time, and it's a gradual process. You can't expect that you have done 2 3 courses and then you can go to Kaggle and produce acceptable work. It takes time. You have to be patient.
Okay, so yeah, I think Siddharth has already explained a couple of things. So some more points I would like to add is just to get, like, let's just get started with it already. Because see, the thing is, like, always you will feel that I'm not ready currently. I'm not ready now. So you will have to start from somewhere, and there is no need to learn each and everything. There are lots and lots of things you don't need to learn each and everything. Just pick something and get started with it. And while working on that thing, whenever you will come with some new thing that you don't know, then just start exploring that one. There is no need to first finish everything. That way you will never be like started with something. So just get started with something. Yeah.
Yeah, so I hope that answers the query. The general question that we usually face is like, how does the scoring is done? Like how the scoring is being done for Kaggle competition? Is it only accuracy, precision, or your approach to problem solving? Like what are the weightage of scoring on Kaggle competitions?
So it's only on the basic of metrics, whatever. Like it's all. I think it's always mentioned in the problem statement itself that these are the metrics that we are going to consider, and on the basis of this particular metric, the scoring will be done. So I think, yeah, that's already always, I think, mentions at the Kaggle. So yeah, it's just the metric thing. There will be no weightage that would be given on the basis of your approach or something like that. But yeah, ultimately you will have to kind of improve everything to kind of achieve that score, right? So yeah, that's it.
Okay, so initially when I joined Kaggle, most of the competitions were, based on metrics. But recently they have started doing this analytics competitions, which I think are just as important because they focus more on the analysis part. And if you see the winning submissions of those competitions, I think those notebooks are wonderful, and with every cell of those notebooks, you can learn a lot. So, like, uh, uh, I think any data scientist's main goal should be to be a good data scientist. Uh, Kaggle is just a way to achieve that. It keeps you focused. So in real world data science, like Mayank mentioned in a previous question, that not everything will have a solution related to ML. Some things you can do only by analysis. Some solutions you can provide only using analysis. In that case, those competitions uh, really teach you a lot. And if not for Kaggle, but for real life, things like EDA, feature engineering, and data balancing do matter a lot. But yeah, if it's an analysis competition, these things matter. But if it's not an analysis competition, yes, only the metrics matter.
Yeah, so I hope that answers the question. So like next question is like little bit tricky and like an interesting one. Do you think Julia will take over Python?
Okay. So I will say that this is a subjective take on this. I can't be objective about it. This is just my opinion. So I would say that when I first joined Kaggle and started data science, everyone was talking about Python and R. And as I progressed, they were talking more about Python and less about R. So and one day I was going through a forum and I went to this post which was saying that uh, 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 and this was like a very old post around 2017 or 2018, and the guy says that when he joined Kaggle, so like in early days of Kaggle, 90% of work or like 90% of submissions were done using R scripts or R Markdown notebooks. But now he sees that 90% of those things are being done by Python. 90% of notebooks, 90% of submissions are Python, and less than 10% are done using R. if ever you see something like that happening with Julia, you can say that yeah, Julia is going to take over Python. But the thing is that Python is very easy to code in. You have a lot of support uh, for a data scientist. Yes, you can do analysis with it, you can build models with it, but at the same time you can use it for data scraping. uh, you can use it for web development. I think many of the organizations that I have worked for as internships or even as full-time positions, they I think they have all used Python in one or other capacities. And also uh, when I look for job descriptions for data science, Python is always there. The day I start seeing Julia there, yes, uh, I would say that yeah, Julia has a chance of taking over Python. But I think right now replacing Python and JavaScript is very difficult. I don't see it happening for next 2 3 years.
So this is like a heated conversation, like heated topic that's going on over every other social media platform. So yeah, follow your passion. Like that would help. And
Yeah,
the
yeah.
other
I
question,
think if you, I would like to say that if you like Julia so much, so like you can contribute to the community. You can always contribute to the community to make your dream come true. If you want to take down Python, yeah, yeah, bro, just go and contribute to Julia.
yeah. So that answers the question well. So like the other question is like in Kaggle competitions, there are like test data, public test and private test, right? Like two sets of test data. And I think that the final result is based on private test data, which is hidden till the end. So what all we can do to increase the accuracy in private test data?
uh, I won't just take Kaggle for this. I would also take other platforms that conduct competitions in a similar way. So yeah, yeah. Most of the times they use private test data uh, and test your model on it. But that happens. But for that, they have to run the model again. What happens is that sometimes they use only a subset of the test set given to you for final scoring. They sometimes use a subset of the public test set. And when it comes to increasing the accuracy in private test data, there are two things. One is that you should have a good cross validation strategy. This is where I also get stuck many times. You should have a good cross validation strategy. So and the other thing is that you should keep in mind that you are not overfitting the data. So maybe sometimes it can happen that there are like only hours left before the end of the competition, and you see a submission, or like you get an approach in which you are getting a much better accuracy on your test data, or on your local test data, the one you are using to test your algorithm, your validation data. But something about it is fishy, or like if you use something, or like you found out a new feature at the end. But if you're not confident about it, then maybe you don't submit it. But what happens is that those submissions which were using that technique may eventually be ranked lower than your submission, and that happens because maybe because of using that technique, they overfitted their submission. Their their model is overfitted. So I think it's also about confidence and trying your best uh, to uh, to prevent overfitting, and have a good validation strategy. And to have a good validation strategy, again, go through the submissions, go through the notebooks, how they are validating the data, how they're validating their models.
Yeah, so like this is a good pointer to look upon, right? Not only for Kaggle, for all the similar type of platforms that hold like competitions like these. So like yeah. So next question is like anyone who wants to start his career in data science, from which platform he she can learn? Like there are many online certifications in data science. Like there are a hell lot of platforms out there. So what would be your preference, like, though this is like depends from person to person how you look upon that course, or like how that course suits you. So but still your take on that, right? What would be your learning preference?
So I personally use only Coursera, like for the ML kind of things, and even I think for some of the deployment stuff for learning it, I have used Coursera only, and I haven't tried other platforms. So I think, yeah, Coursera has lot of I think one of the best courses they have. So I think, yeah, that should be enough. But still, I think you can learn same thing from multiple places as well, because there you because that also kind of improve your understanding, because two or three or some more instructors from where you learned, there can be different perspective for the same thing. So that's gets like that thing is covered in that process. And for stats and probability, I think Khan Academy is the best free available stuff. So I had learned most of the stats and probabilities from there. So yeah, I think that's a good resources. And I think for a beginner to start on with some hands-on basic machine learning things, so I think there's some ML playlist offered by CentDex channel on YouTube as well, because I think I had done that as well when I was starting off with data science. And yeah, apart from all of these courses, I think there are lots of good blogs like Analytics Vidya and KD Nuggets and Medium. There are a lot of good blog posts out there. You can read those as well. And and yeah, I think that should be enough. I think that will give you lots and lots of ideas about what are the things that you need to be aware about, what are the different terminologies. And yeah, I think the bonus part will be to also make yourself comfortable with reading research paper as well, because in the industry you will have to do that most often. So I think, yeah, make yourself comfortable with reading research papers and try to implement at least some of them as well. So yeah, that's going to help you a lot. So yeah, I think.
Okay, in my experience, uh, I started first with Udemy. So like the Udemy courses I did were great for approaching the practical part, but they don't cover the theory. And theory is just as, or I think more important than practical when it comes to data science, because it helps you build your intuition. For that, I would say Coursera is the best. They have the best structure of courses, and most of them are to the point, and exactly the amount of content, or like the volume of content you need to start. And I think as I did the practical stuff first, I have struggled sometimes in theory, and that's why I would suggest that if you are starting with data science, yeah, it will be lengthy, it would be boring at times, but I would say uh, go for theoretical and conceptual knowledge at Coursera first. Then you can go to some other platform, and when you have done a basic course to build the foundation, uh, try to try to talk to someone on LinkedIn, or try to get yourself a mentor or something. Ask him or her what you should do. What should be the next topics that you should learn. You should not see the course by the organization that is offering the course, but what you should see is the content of the course. So, what is making the waves these days? What's working in the industry? So, a course that ticks most of these boxes, you should choose that course. But my
Yeah.
personal recommendation would be Coursera.
So Coursera is taking the lead. So the next question is like a person has done that NG's course on Coursera and deep learning like specialization course, like what to do next now, like to get started with Kaggle competitions. Like the person has done Andrew Ng's course and deep learning AI specialization, but what would that person do to get started with Kaggle competitions?
Well, I think we do have, like, I think we do have some discussions previously as well for
Mhm.
this. So I think, yeah, best thing is just get started already, because see, you will keep learning more and more courses, and you will always feel that no, this is not the right time for me to start. So the best thing is like get started already, and while you will come up with some new things that you feel that you don't know about that, then just get and just go and learn that thing in particular. So yeah, there is no need like to learn all things at once, like I previously mentioned. So you can keep learning and keep practicing, and yeah, just maintain a balance between both of these things, because data science is all about, I think, this. You will have to maintain a balance between your learning and your practicing both of these things at an equal level. So I think, yeah, that answers the question, I think.
So the next question is like, do we really need to know each and every code or algorithm, or we just copy paste? Like I know logic of linear model, but I do not know how to implement. Like the person knows the logic, but doesn't know the like how to implement or like how to do that coding part. So how would you suggest that person?
Well, well, from my personal experience, I think nobody is going to ask you to implement a machine learning algorithm from scratch, I think. So the only thing is its inner workings, right? Like how those algorithms are working, like what are the different parameters, what are they about, and because if you will understand the math behind this any particular algorithm, then only you can use it. Because see, algorithm is just a tool. You should know how to use it, right? If you will understand like these are the things that affects the algorithm, and these should be the parameters that I should put after inspecting your data, then that's it, I think. There is no need for you to implement something from scratch. There are a lot of implementations already there. So yeah, the only thing is try to get a good understanding of its inner working.
Okay, so I would like to add this like uh, 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 yes, no one is going to ask you uh, that you have to implement this machine learning algorithms from scratch, because the implementations that are already available have been optimized for best performance. But if you are going into research, you might have to create your own algorithms from scratch. And also, if you're working for a company as a data scientist, you may not be you may not be asked to do something from scratch, but it's for your own personal learning, for your own personal understanding. If you like to explore, if you're curious how the algorithm works, you should try to implement them. But uh, uh, it's not compulsory. I would say it's your personal choice.
Like I hope that answers the question. Like the question is again repeated: how important is programming languages when it comes to interview perspective? We covered that. So,
Yeah.
like the next question is it really necessary to have a feature, like to have a feature to be distributed normally? Like why we give so much emphasis on normal distribution? Like we have the concept of normal distribution. Why do we give so much emphasis on that?
Okay, so that's an interesting question. So, see, I think making your distributions normal is just to make the things simple. So, see, whenever we are kind of like we are fitting some ML models on our data, then what we basically do is we are just learning the distribution of our data, right? Because let's say if I'm saying that, hey, I got 99% accuracy for this particular data set, then what it means is like we were able to determine 99% distribution for that data. So now the problem is like what happens if the things are not normally, like if you're, let's say we have three different features and those are not normally distributed. So what generally happens, like you have an optimizer, and it optimizes your kind of loss. It works on reducing your loss more and more, and that's what we call as learning, right? Now if those features will not be normally distributed, then there may be case that one of the feature can overrule other features. So let's take an example. Let's say we have kind of we let's say we have an example. Okay, so let's say we have some particular game, and we have a data set related to that thing. Now there can be scores in a various format. There can be zero score as well. Let's say a cricket game, we can have a zero score, we have a century, or we can have a double century as well. So what happens, like if you will make it normally distributed, then it makes your curve more smooth, so that your optimizer can do the gradient descents properly. So yeah, so the high level thing would be just to make the things more simple, we do normal distribution. So, yeah.
I hope that that answers the question well, right? Like normal distribution, because even if you go to interviews, most of the interviewers also ask like these things, normal distribution or the distribution things. So definitely, I hope that it will answer, like it gave a little bit of clarity on this topic, right? So the next question is like how to like ROC and AUC, like we have that area under curve and those things. So like Kaggle competition and the relationship between ROC and AUC. So any light on that?
Okay, if you have to evaluate your submissions using ROC or AUC or any other technique, the best way to implement this, if you don't know this, I mean even I don't know the way to implement them. So best thing that works for software developers and data scientists and everyone who does programming is Stack Overflow. Go to Stack Overflow, search how to implement ROC and AUC. You might need it to evaluate your model trained using scikit-learn. There is an implementation for that. You might need it for PyTorch. There is an implementation for that. You might need it for Keras. In Keras and TensorFlow, I think it's included, but if you want a custom version for it, you can also get that. Uh, and if, for example, it's not available on Stack Overflow, in the discussions of the Kaggle competitions, you will find these metrics. So like for object detection, they use, I think, if I'm correct, IOU metric. I think good implementations or like optimized implementations of that are not available on Stack Overflow. I think were not available at that time. So a lot of people put their implementations in the discussions panel in the Kaggle competitions, and you will many times you will get metrics that you have never heard of, like quadratic kappa metric and stuff like that. So best way is either the discussion panel or Stack Overflow.
So like if you start in your data science journey or machine learning journey, like Google, Stack Overflow, Kaggle discussions, these are your friends, like go to places, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, and there is nothing wrong with that.
yeah, like it's completely okay to use those things. Like you are not required to be expert at the very first go. Like it's very okay to go there and learn, because at last you should learn, and the resources can be any from anywhere, be it Google, be it Kaggle competitions, be it anything, right? So the next is like a person has done deep learning and neural networks course from Coursera and have some basic knowledge of what AI, ML, and data science is. Like, shall that person start with practically applying ML through data camp? Like he has done courses or she has done courses on Coursera and have gathered a good experience, like a basic knowledge of what all these domains are. So should that person practically apply that ML, like whatever that person has learned through data camp, or like even though there are many courses, there is no practical knowledge of applying machine learning, right? Applying machine learning. So like how to apply or where to apply, like mainly applied machine learning, that's what the person is asking. So any pointers?
Okay. So in my personal experience with DataGamp, I think DataGamp is more for people who don't come from a technical background. So suppose you had a client-facing job in marketing, and tomorrow somehow you get interested in data science and you want to learn data science. DataGamp is the place for you. But if you come from a background of stats or computer science, I think uh, it's very likely that you have coding experience in some way or other. So it's better to get into courses for Udemy uh, if you want to do it fast. But if you want to explore, go through Kaggle notebooks. So like start with the Titanic problem, uh, or the house price regression problem. These competitions are always running on Kaggle, and I think uh, uh, they will be there till the end of time. Uh, these are the competitions with most submissions. These are the competitions which cover the whole, I would say, the whole rainbow of data science, of all the things uh, that are required in a practical manner. So if you have coding knowledge in Python, and you know the concepts of AI ML, then I think go start with uh, uh, the Titanic competition, go through the other submissions. I think that's the way to start.
Yeah, I think that covers those things, because there are already lots and lots of notebooks that you can go through. You can try to understand like what others have already done, and yeah, with the use of that you can implement something by yourself, and I think that will be good way to apply some practical efforts on the basis of what you are learning. So I think, yeah, just get started with some problem.
So like that answers the question like very aptly, but like just to boost up the preparations, like we in our next meetup, which is scheduled on 27th of June, we have Abhishek Thakur, right? So he is also an author, like he would be releasing the book like approaching almost any machine learning problem. So that's also like applied machine learning, like how you can apply machine learning into projects, or like how you can just approach things. So Abhishek is doing great work using like via that book. And like just to support you, like to get, like even we are celebrating our anniversary month, right? So we are just giving away like giving away 2 books of Abhishek. Like Abhishek's approaching almost any machine learning problem. We would be declaring the results on 27th of June while the meetup is going on, with Abhishek as a speaker and Ankit Rathi as a speaker. So we have 3 total giveaways. First is LinkedIn Premium, like a person would be getting 6 months of LinkedIn Premium. And we have 2 books to be given away by Abhishek, and 2 books to be given away by Ankit Rathi. So our last meetup, that's on 27th, like anniversary meetup. That's like kind of, you can tell it's a author week, because both of the speakers are authors. So like both of the speakers are giving their books as a giveaway. So you can definitely participate there and just send your best wishes, and like let's see who wins, right? So we have Abhishek's approaching almost any machine learning problem as a giveaway, and Ankit Rathi's book also as a giveaway. Apart from that, you can also participate to get a LinkedIn Premium for 6 months free from our site, right? So we can go to the next question. Like what if someone is working as a software developer in some company and he does Kaggle regularly, right? Will he be worthy to get a job in a big company or startups, like as a ML engineer? Okay, so the question is like more of a, like a person is working into software industry for a quite bit amount of time, and he's trying to enter as a ML engineer in a company or a startup with no experience, but like he has good score in Kaggle competition, he or she, anything, right? So what if the company is looking for experienced candidates? Will he be worthy? Like
Okay. So I would say that if tomorrow, uh, suppose there is a guy who has 7 years experience as a software developer, and for the last 1 or 2 years, he's contributing regularly to Kaggle. He has got medals and stuff. And I walk into the interview with him. I'm just graduating from 2020 batch. I have been practicing data science for 2 years. I have done internships related to data science. I don't think there is any chance for me to get selected because it's not just your uh, core knowledge or the practical knowledge of the subject they ask for. When they see a person who has 7 years experience in industry, what they also see is that this person might have led a team. This person uh, might have faced high pressure situations and would have overcome those situations. So, so they would put their money into someone who has experience, uh, who knows how to conduct himself, who knows how to conduct himself better in a professional environment. Uh, uh, but yeah, it depends who his competitors are. So someone who is just graduating and has only done data science uh, might uh, uh, might not get a job, but if he's facing someone who has like 3 4 years of experience in data science, then that guy has a better chance than him because
Yeah.
because you have to take care of a lot of things uh, because since you have worked in the industry for 7 years, uh, uh, so you might be in your late 20s or early 30s. At that age, the family has a lot of expectations from you. So you also have a high salary expectation and a good work-life balance. So uh, it's I think tricky, but I think people find this. I have seen cases on Kaggle, people with whom I've talked to regularly. They were working in IT, but not in data science. They did some courses. They made some projects. They went to interviews, and some of them directly got into very high positions. So I would say it's impossible, uh, but yes, I think you can definitely try.
Yeah, so like that answers the question. Well, like definitely giving it a try is the best thing that you can do at this moment, right? So like we would be taking the last question from here. After that we will just go to that live chat window. Like we have a few questions which have been asked like in the past few minutes, right? So we will answer them. Like if time allows, we will just then go to these rest of questions, right? So like the last question that we will be answering from this sheet is like, I have foundational knowledge in deep learning with basic knowledge in applications like computer vision and NLP. Like the person has completed a few courses on Coursera and NPTEL. So like that person has a good idea about like basic knowledge about the applications in computer vision and NLP. So like what should be his or her next step? Like what should he or she do? Research papers or projects? Like we have a discussion about like state of the art research paper, like reading those things and implementing those things, right? We have discussed about those things. So what should that person do? Either research paper or projects. And in case that person wants to do research papers, or like you suggest research papers, then what type of research papers are appropriate at the stage at which the person is currently at? So what would be your take on that?
Okay, I think here the progress should be incremental. So, like, start with when you are done with courses, start with small projects, then take a slightly detailed project, then a bigger project. And at the same time, start reading research papers. Don't implement them yet. Start reading research papers, and maybe by that time you have also developed uh, uh, a little bias for a certain field, or like you want to go into NLP, you want to go into computer vision. Start with simple papers. So like if you uh, if you want to get into NLP, so like the very first paper that you want to go for should be related to your tokenization, vectorization, stuff like that. I am not able to remember the name of the very first papers I went through, but I think uh, yeah, related to vectorization and stuff for uh, for computer vision and stuff like that, you can go for for the CNN paper or like the old papers of artificial neural networks. Uh, I think better would be to start with older papers like papers which were published during the last decade but had a great effect on the AI/ML industry as a whole.
So, so I think apart from that, I would like to add like narrow down your kind of what you really need. Like if you really want to explore further the research domains, like if you want to do your masters or PhDs, then I think you should mostly focus on the research paper thing. But if you want to work in an industry, then yeah, I think projects and as well as research papers, I think both of those should be taken care of. So as Siddharth already mentioned, so I think if like there's already an option, like if research papers, then whatever research papers. So I think you will have to kind of select the things like what you are really interested in. Either it's an NLP or either it's in computer vision or what you are really interested in, and then you can select one of the things and then you can start with it. So you can, yeah, initially start with some simple things and then you can go more deeper and more deeper to kind of have a good knowledge about like what are the things that has already been implemented and what are the limitations that you can work on as a kind of a research. So yeah, so those are the things I think that should be taken care of.
Yeah, definitely. So like that approach by a student or a person who is looking forward for PhD or masters, like that person may be having a dilemma, right? So that person can approach as per their interest, like research papers, like approach those research papers in which you have interest, and the research papers that would be adding values to what you are doing or adding values to like supplementing your knowledge, right? So like we come to the end of the questions from Google Sheets, right? So like as we have a 13 minutes or like till 1:30 we have time, so we would just answer a few questions from the live chat window. I will just read the questions and Siddharth or Mayank, anyone can answer, right? So we can just go. Like Rishabh Malhotra asked, like he's working as a data scientist and he wants like have been wanting to try his hands at Kaggle for last few months, but he thinks that Kaggle is like a very open space and he's not getting the perfect place to start, or like because it's very open or like there is a hell lot of things to do, he's getting confused like where to start or where to kickstart the things. So any advice, like though we have covered a short like a one liner, two liner, your advice, anything to him?
So, so I think, see, if you are working in an industry, then of course, yeah, it's kind of little bit difficult to find out a time for Kaggle, but just try to allocate at least 1 or 2 hours of your day to Kaggle, and just start with just pick any competitions which are currently live, and try to get started with even some of the kernels that are already published there and try to understand those things. See, initially for the initial thing, I would not say just to focus on the scoring part only. You can just like even learn from those problems as well. So there should not be only the thing that, hey, I need to score it more better and better. Only that is the thing. That's why I will be participating in a Kaggle competition. So that's not it. It should be like, yeah, you have to learn more and more.
So like another question, like I cannot read the name. It's like the person loves IF like alphabets and numbers a lot. So like can we start a Kaggle Days at in city? Definitely, like I have answered it. Like drop an email at hello@kaggledays.com, or if you want any help, you can contact me like Ion. So you can contact me there, right? So Preeti is asking which platform you choose to write the code: Jupyter Notebook from the system, Kaggle Notebook, or Google Notebook, or anything else. Like what? Where do you write your code?
Okay, so for this, I think it depends how good your system is. If you have a good GPU, 16 GB RAM, then I think go with your own system. That's the best. Uh, I personally use Collab Notebook because I don't have an NVIDIA GPU. Collab is at first Collab was not very good, but in the last 1 or 2 years they have improved a lot, and I think there are many things I don't have to worry about. So like I can connect Collab to Kaggle or my Google Drive where I have all my data in persistence. So like my data is safer when I use Collab Notebook than my normal PC. So that tomorrow my PC can get formatted, but my data is safe if it's in my Google Drive and I can easily connect it to Collab Notebook. Kaggle notebooks also you can use if you want to showcase your project. So like if you are doing it for yourself or like you are doing like a freelance project, Collab notebook is the best for that unless you have a more powerful GPU your uh, than the one provided by Collab. But if you are creating a project or like you are entering a competition on Kaggle and you have to give your notebook as submission, then yeah, use Kaggle. And if you want to showcase it, put it in your CV, use Kaggle, run it on Kaggle, save it on Kaggle, and also post it on GitHub. That would be my advice.
So like Harshit asked like where the ways of receiving giveaways. So you can just check our LinkedIn page. We have uploaded 3 giveaways. Like the posts are there. So one is linked for LinkedIn Premium, another is for 2 books by Abhishek, and another is for 2 books by Ankit. All of the results for the giveaways, like how to participate, like things have been mentioned in the post, and what how the results will be, like how the winner will be selected. Those things have been mentioned there. You can just go there and check. Like how to make good personal projects. Everyone has same projects these days. So this is a good question. So like how to make some good personal projects.
Okay, so for this, I would say that go to the analysis competitions of Kaggle and see all the top 5 submissions, the 5 submissions which have won prizes, and see what they do different from others. So a lot of crowd you will see on Kaggle or other or like people who are putting their projects on GitHub, or even I have seen in my college people who are picking up ML projects. Most of them don't make much changes or changes at all to their code. They are same. But if you want something different, if you want something that actually solves the problem, that solves a real world data science problem, go for the top 5 submissions of the Kaggle analysis competitions.
So like I hope that answers the question. Now like Mayank has already worked in some DevOps and full stack. Like I had a conversation with him regarding that. So Mayank bhai, could you
Yeah.
please explain, right? Do data scientists need to know DevOps and full stack development, like DevOps in the sense Docker and like all things, like maybe?
Uh, well, yeah, I think from my personal experience, I think it would be really helpful for you if you know these things, because if see like for the startups and medium-sized company, what happens, like you will have to build your model, uh, you will have to collect the data, and even you will have to deploy those models as well. And all these 3 roles, like as a machine learning engineer, as a data engineer, and as a DevOps, all these 3 roles you will have to do it all by yourself. So most of the times there will not be any third person allocated to these things. So I think, yeah, this is going to really help you a lot. And I think you will find lots and lots of resources already there, like how to build an application, how to build a server, how to simply serve a model. So these are the things that you can easily find, and I think, yeah, it's not that much hard to get started with it. So yeah, so do add these things in your skill set as well, and I think, yeah, that will obviously will give more advantage to your skill set.
So like as we talked about deployment, right? So we use various containers or other things for deployment, other things. So any resource, like anything that you have in mind as of now for ML testing and deployment, maybe that ML flow and cube flow that we had discussion about, right?
Yeah. So I think Qflow is Qflow would be little bit high level thing for someone who is just starting with these things. So I think initially you can start with Docker. There's like at their documentation page there are very really good intuitive example, I would say. They have mentioned, so you can go through them, and there are also lots and lots of good medium articles as well, like how can you containerize your packages that you build, and how can you just spin those containers to create a service layer for your ML models. So initially I would say let's initially I would say just get started with Docker, and once you are comfortable with Docker, then the problem is with scaling thing. Like using Docker, you can, okay, let's say you have built a container and you are all good at kind of serving your models through some service layer or something like that. So the next problem you will face is scalability, and there you can explore the Kubeflow. So Kubeflow is basically just a kind of a Kubernetes type of platform. So I think you might be new to these things. So the best way would be the Kubeflow documentation itself. So there's a very good example step by step they have shown, like how to get started with Kubeflow. So yeah, I think that should be the good starting point for the scaling part.
So like I have been also working in Docker. So like if you are just a beginner with Docker, you can just visit this website docker-curriculum.com. So it's a well maintained, like awesome resource for getting started with Docker. So like Siddharth, like as per you say, as per your vision or as per you see in the industry, how many companies, like how much percentage of the companies have developed machine learning model in production, right? Like how many of them have productionized their machine learning model? Because we usually hear that machine learning models are not put into production. Let's assume that Netflix competition, right, the winning competition was
Yeah.
not put into production due to some computational issues and due to some high computational costs. So how
Yeah.
much percentage do you think that actually companies have developed, like have productionized their machine learning models?
Yeah. Okay. Uh, so the thing is that what happens is that there is people teach you how to analyze data. People teach you how to model data. People don't teach you how to collect data, how to create data. Sometimes you might have a problem in which you need uh, people don't know how to collect data. Uh, Due to which what happens is that with the amount of data available, which in most cases is open source, and I don't think it's not enough to build good models, or like models uh, that fulfill your goal completely. What you get at the end is uh, um, is not good enough for production. And also, like you said, in the Netflix competition, the uh, the costs were too high to deploy that model. Uh, Also, what happens is that most companies, or like you can say in startups, but also in big companies, people uh, don't have among their personnel the people who specialize in AI. Most companies use AI not as a tool to improve their processes, but just to look cool.
So
This is
that's
what
the
I
saddest part.
Yeah. That's why models don't go into production, and sometimes data scientists also. I mean, this is what I have seen. This is what I have heard. And sometimes the data scientists also might get lazy. They would give an overfitted submission. So like they would give an overfitted random forest, for example. They deploy, they provide this model, and when this model is tested over for like for say 1 month or like 5 6 weeks, uh, they see that it's not performing well. How will it perform well if it's overfitted? When the only task your data science team has done is to fit an overfitted model. So like stuff like that.
Mhm. Exactly. So like we will
So
take like minimum, like maximum of 2-3 questions now, like as we have reached 1:30 p.m. So like we would be taking 2-3 more questions. Like another is like any source for image processing, any good Kaggle problem like you have like worked on or you might have heard about, like any good Kaggle problem for practicing image processing.
So, well, at Kaggle, I currently do not remember such competition, I think. But I think the OpenCV documentation, it in itself is very well curated resources that you can refer to. Because
yeah, I agree with that. I have not found a better resource. So sorry, man, you can continue. I should not have
yeah,
interrupted you.
so so yeah, I think because see, when I started with computer vision, then initially I had no like that much idea about what sort of problems in computer vision are, and what kind of what is state of art and those kind of things. So I initially started with that OpenCV documentation, and when I am currently now in industry, then what I found is like most of the things, like I had already previously mentioned, right? Most of the computer vision things, those are entirely dependent on those image processing that I had learned from that OpenCV documentation. So just try to get a good understanding of those kind of things, like what is convolution, how can you make a custom convolution layer for your task, and what are the different processing that you can make to kind of enhance your image, and those kind of things. So yeah, I think that OpenCV documentation is the best way to start.
Yeah. So like next is like a last question that we might take is what must be installed to approach the Kaggle notebook attempts. So I hope that you can use Kaggle.com only for that. Like
Yeah.
any point
I,
of
I
like.
mean, it's a cloud-based service, so you don't need to install anything. Everything is available to you. All the resources are provided by Kaggle on cloud. But if you want to do it on your own system, you can use the Kaggle API to connect to the dataset. Maybe download a portion of it if you want to.
Mhm. So the last question of today would be like Kaggle competitions. Is it impactful for data science jobs? Like last question, we would be
So
ending that session now.
So I think, yeah, most of you are already aware. Like there are a lot of times, there are a lot of controversies. Like, is it really helpful? So I would say that, yeah, Kaggle is really helpful for building your machine learning skills. But yeah, machine learning is not only the part of data science, right? So don't limit yourself to just gaining like ML skills. If you want really to become a good data scientist, then you should also learn like how can you formulate a problem, how can you collect the data specific to a problem, and like how you selected a validation strategy for that problem. And I think, yeah, so these kind of things, I think that should be the part of your skill set as well. So yeah, so learn and practice ML skills from Kaggle, but yeah, don't limit yourself to only that part, because data science is really big.
So like that's like with that we come to the end. Like thank you Siddharth and Mayank for taking out time on Saturday and like like celebrating with us our first anniversary. So any last day, like any last things that you want to suggest, or like though we have covered a lot of things, any last wishes or any last suggestions for the community as a whole, like for the learners, for any like as a ending note.
So I would like to say, like most of the time it may be like most of the people gets frustrated, like, oh man, there are a lot of things to learn, and where to start, where to end. So see, don't try to learn everything. As I have lot of time, I had already mentioned, don't try to learn everything. There are a lot of things. So just just make it kind of more practical. Learn one thing and do the practice on that, and whenever you will come with new things, then just go to that thing and then finish that part. And that way, like it's I can say it's a kind of DFS kind of learning approach, depth first. So
Exactly. It's
yeah. So whenever you will face something, then try to solve that. And while exploring that, you will face another problem, and then you will have to solve that one. So don't start with everything. So yeah,
yeah.
I think that's
So
it.
that's the best approach. Thanks, Mayank, for your time, and thanks for the guidance. Right. So Siddharth,
Okay.
any
Yeah.
ending notes?
Okay. I would like to say that guys, don't follow the beaten path. Don't go after the course certificate. Go after the concepts. Go after the knowledge. No one is going to ask you how many certificates you have. They are going to ask how good your projects are, how good your solutions are, and even more important than that is learning and sharing your knowledge. Always try to share your knowledge.
So like you are our motivators, right? You are sharing your knowledge with us. Thanks for that. That comes to the end of today's meetup. Thanks to all of you for joining, and we
Okay,
have
I would
another.
like to say something else.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
once again, uh, thank you so much to the whole uh, Kaggle Days team for organizing these meetups. I think what I just mentioned, that learning by sharing, I think you guys are a perfect example of that. Keep doing meetups like that. I think this is just the first year, and you have done more than 13 events. I think this year, I think you can do double of those events,
Yeah.
and
Thanks.
but the next year even more.
Yeah.
I think we have taken out like 1.5 hours from our whole day, but you do this every month.
So like support of people like you and support of speakers like
Yeah.
you make it possible, so thanks. And like apart from these today's meetup, we have another anniversary meetup on 27th of June, like from 12 p.m. IST only. We have speakers like Abhishek Thakur and Ankit Rathi. So we would be declaring the winners of the giveaways too. You can just set the reminder for that session over our YouTube channel only. And apart from that, we have like the anniversary celebration meetup is on 27th, and after that we have a data catch up session where we would be discussing introduction to neural networks by Saurav Mehti, who is a data scientist at Microsoft. He would be just briefing you about graph neural networks and how things work. So these things may be useful for you. We have put we have scheduled these sessions on our YouTube channel. You can just go and set the reminder. And apart from that, thanks for joining, and do participate in the giveaways. Those giveaways are on the LinkedIn page. Like we have 3 giveaways: LinkedIn Premium, Abhishek's book, and Ankit's book. You can just go there and participate. So thanks to all of you for joining. Thanks to Siddharth, thanks to Mayank, thanks to the entire organizing team. Like there are a lot of names. So these people have been working very, very hard to bring these things to in front of you. So thanks to all of you. Bye bye, stay safe. Yeah, thanks.